Ryan Braun is on the Hall of Fame ballot. Does he deserve to get in?
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. I'm Chuck Freimund. Welcome to Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the number one sports podcast network, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin, proud host of Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Ryan Braun, Hall of Fame ballot that came out on Monday. His career had two parts to it. We'll talk about that. The PED scandal, I think it hurt his chances, for one, and how he stacks up against others in his class of other people who are on the ballot. Man, I'll tell you, good to have you along here on a Monday. No news with the Milwaukee Brewers as far as trades or anything coming out of the GM meetings. Maybe something here in the next coming weeks. But the news dropped regarding Ryan Braun on the Hall of Fame ballot. Now, before we get into this, Ryan Braun, there are fans out there who still have not forgiven Ryan Braun for what happened in 2011. The PED scandal, throwing the FedEx driver under the bus, all that. It didn't sit well with a lot of people. I get it. But we're going to get to all that coming up yet here on the show. But I remember where I was the day he got called up. I was in Shawano, Wisconsin, of all spots. And it was like Braun is going to make his debut against the San Diego Padres Memorial Day weekend of 2007. It was rainy up there in Shawano, and we watched Ryan Braun make his debut with San Diego. We were supposed to be fishing. Nope. We were watching Braun. We were all excited about Braun, and we watched him. It was raining outside. It was an excuse to watch Brewers baseball, and he was terrific. The moment Braun stepped on the field in 2007, he was great. I mean, there was no rookie adjustment with this guy. He came out, and sure, he played third base, and he wasn't a great defensive third baseman, but I'm talking mostly at the plate. He came in on a 2017 that was a pennant contender. Let's face it, they were a pennant contender. They got off to a 20-7 start without Braun, but then when they called him up in May, they continued to play well. And Braun was a big part of it. Rookie of the Year in 2007, and he also got some votes. Let's get to that. I mean, those numbers in 2007, he played in 113 games, 26 doubles, 34 home runs, 97 RBIs, and he batted .324, one of his highest batting averages, .324. And yeah, he got some Hall of Fame, some MVP votes. He finished Rookie of the Year, but Ryan Braun was on the fast track to stardom. The Brewers were, again, pennant contenders, and they didn't go to the postseason, but they had a really good team. Prince and Weeks were just starting to come into their own after being on the team for a couple of years. And Braun was a rookie, and Braun took baseball by storm. Again, Rookie of the Year, .325, 34 home runs, 97 RBIs. At this point, I'm thinking, man, let's get that statue outside for Ryan Braun. This guy is going to be up there with Molitor, Yount, and the great ones with the Milwaukee Brewers, right? Great ones. If you remember back to 2007, he was off to the best start of anybody in Brewers history, and that includes Molitor and Yount. All right, anybody, any rookie, he had the best rookie year of any Milwaukee Brewer ever. I mean, just fantastic season. Again, defensively not very good, but I'm telling you, he came up here and he was a star right from the very beginning. And then the dramatic home runs began to take part. I always looked at Braun as a guy who always delivered in the big moments. Okay. And, that's big with me. A guy who delivers in the clutch. And I thought Braun was one of those guys. He's part of many memorable moments. And even in 2018, after the scandal, he was big, I thought, in the postseason. He delivered against the Dodgers. I thought he was still, toward the end of his career, producing for this team. Not at the level he did earlier in the year. This was a tale of two careers for Ryan Braun in one. So 2007, he bats .324 and 34 home runs. And man, he's on his way. 2008, batting average comes down to .285. Still hits his 37 home runs, 106 RBIs, and he's an all-star. And he finishes third in the MVP voting in 2008. Wow, we got ourselves a megastar on this team. 2009, 32 home runs, 114 RBIs, and he bats .320. Another spectacular year, a career high, 203 hits in 2009. Braun plays in 158 of the 162 games. So, 2007, 2008, 2009, we're going here. Now, the Brewers aren't playing well in 2009 and 2010. It's the Ken Mackey years right here. They're not playing well. But Braun is still putting up big numbers. 2010, batted .304, 25 home runs. The home run numbers came down a little bit. He still played in 157 games. So three of the first 4 years right now, he's batted over 300. 2011, Brewers go to the National League Championship Series, lose in Game 6 to the Cardinals. Braun, MVP, .332, 33 home runs, 111 RBIs, a career best 994 in the OPS. So he was fantastic. Got MVP votes, and Ryan Braun was an all-star again. 2011 hits, again, .332, 33 home runs. He is at his peak. He is just wins an MVP, and wow. Now the Brewers don't go to the World Series. They fall a couple of games short, but Braun is having a Hall of Fame type career at this point. And then I remember I was in South Milwaukee at an Italian restaurant, and this is when phones just started, alerts on phones came out. I had some BlackBerry or whatever it was. I was going to the bathroom, and also my phone went off in my pocket for an alert, and there it was, Ryan Braun on a Saturday night. That news broke about the PEDs, and I couldn't believe it. Could not believe it. We'll get to that here in a little bit. So 2012, okay, after the accusations, all right, and he's cleared of them. Okay, he's cleared of them because of a technicality. He comes out in 2012 and hit 41 home runs, bats .319 and 112 RBIs. That would be the last time, other than 2016, that Braun put up, I want to say, Hall of Fame numbers. Now, 07 through 2012, each and every one of those years, 5 of his first 6 years, he puts up MVP numbers. Again, those numbers, 34 homers, 37, 32, 25, 33, 41. He is, without question, a first ballot Hall of Famer at this point, in my opinion. And then more stuff comes out in 2013. And the you know what hits the fan, and that is it. He gets suspended. 2013 is an absolute disaster. The Brewers are mad at him. People are mad at him for throwing the FedEx driver under the bus. We're not going to recount that whole story, but you know what happened. It was a bad summer. And here our superstar gets caught for PEDs. Friendships are broken. Trust is broken. And people are mad at Braun. And for the rest of his career, wherever he goes, Braun is hearing the boos. Not because he's a great ball player, but because of throwing people under the bus and not taking the blame. Now, 2013, he plays in 61 games, 9 home runs. 2014, he bats .266 with 19 homers in 135 games, .285 in 215, 25 home runs. 2016, he bounces back, 30 homers, bats .305. But then after that, 17 homers, 20 homers, 22 homers. And he never batted above .285. He batted .268, .254. Tale of two careers. First part of his career, I mean, he's batting over 300. He's hitting over 30 home runs a season, 100 RBI guy on a consistent basis, and those numbers tailed off. Those numbers tailed off after 2012. And you look at what he's done, and Hall of Fame to start. The second part of his career, not so much. So you have to weigh, really, at the end of the day, is Ryan Braun a Hall of Fame player? Certainly was, but then you got the PEDs over his head. Okay. And the numbers go down after he gets the suspension, after he gets accused of the suspension and all that. The numbers go down with the exception of 1 year. But he never bats 320, 330, 320. He never has those type of numbers ever again. The highest he bats is 305 in 2016. So he goes from being, I mean, still a good player, but he's not the elite player, I don't think, anymore. I did not see him as an elite. Sure, he can come up with big at-bats. You always felt good when Brawny came to the plate, but he wasn't a great player. And I feel like the Hall of Fame is for greatness. And I'm going to go over some of these guys who are with him on this ballot, and they're not great players either. So what you have to ask yourself, did Ryan Braun do enough in the first part of his career? In his first, from 2007 through 2012, did he do enough to merit going in the Hall of Fame, where after the PEDs, his numbers slumped off dramatically? Because I'll tell you, those aren't, from 2013 and through 2020, collectively, those are not Hall of Fame numbers. Those aren't MVP numbers. Those aren't Hall of Fame numbers. 2016 was the only time he got, I mean, after 2012, the only time he got MVP votes after 2012 was 2016. 2016. And he was not playing in 158, 157 games anymore. He's playing in 135, 140 games. So some of that is load management, right? I mean, that really started to take a hold, load management. Some of it was injuries. But the question is, the whole part of his career, I don't see a Hall of Famer with Ryan Braun. Now, do I see the jersey getting retired? Number 8, they have not reissued it since. Absolutely. He's one of the all-time greats. But when you're talking Hall of Fame here, you're talking superstar. You're talking superstar. Paul Molitor was a superstar. Robin Yount was a superstar. C.C. Sabathia, superstar. Raleigh Fingers, Don Sutton, Dave Parker. Shouldn't have taken him that long to get into the Hall of Fame. Superstar. Ryan Braun, he's somewhere between superstar and the Hall of Very Good. He's not good enough, in my opinion, to be in the Hall of Fame. Now, sometimes mediocre players get into the Hall of Fame. And I'm not saying he's mediocre, but after that run, after 2013, when he got caught after 2012, actually, it didn't smack superstar to me. We'll get to the PED scandal and what effect that's going to have coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers brought to you by FanDuel. FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. NBA is back. No better place to get in all the action with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Maybe you love your live betting, right? Maybe like Denver and Chicago in the live betting, and you like the Bulls to go into Denver and get the job done as 14-point underdogs. And they did. They won the game outright. Well, that's where you go to FanDuel and you get in their live bets. You get a same game parlay, shot at bigger cash payouts and all that. FanDuel's got the live bets. It's easy to get to. Some places, live betting is absolutely brutal. They make you work for it. Not with FanDuel. But right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So go ahead to FanDuel.com, sign up, play your game with FanDuel. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. NBA is back. Get on all the action. You bet $5, it wins. $300 in bonus bets into your account. FanDuel.com, sign up, play your game with FanDuel. Chuck Freimund here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. By the way, the podcast, you get it on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your podcast. We're the #1 Brewers podcast on the internet because you great Brewer fans out there. And, of course, go to our growing YouTube page, search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode on YouTube. Always hit me up at Twitter, Chuck Freimund, Freimund. Ryan Braun, talking about him today. Didn't think when the day started I'd be talking about Ryan Braun, but the Hall of Fame ballot dropped and it was like, oh, he's on there. And again, Ryan Braun is polarizing in Wisconsin. You know, even when he played, is he a Hall of Famer? Is he not the Hall of Famer? Well, now's the time to have that conversation because he's on the ballot for first time, and he's got to get 75% of the votes to get in, 5% just to stay on the ballot next year. And these voters don't like the PED guys. I don't have to tell you that. You know that. They do not like the PED guys. So not only when I took the PEDs out of it and I looked at Braun's career, I did not see I do not have a Hall of Fame career for him from start to finish. And of course, there's going to be some tail off at the end when you get older. But I didn't see when he was even in the prime after the PEDs, was he putting up MVP or Hall of Fame numbers. I mean, those first years, 6 All-Star games, 5 Silver Sluggers, home run champ in 2012. I like Ryan. Good guy. When I say good guy, I don't know him personally, but when you're talking in terms of a media, which I am, dealing with him in the clubhouse, win or lose after games, he was not one of those guys who went and hid after a 5 strikeout night. I don't remember if he even struck out 5 times. What if he had if he went 0 for 4? I think he did strike out a few times, going 0 for 4. He would be there after a tough loss. And that's, to me, I like that. I like that in a player. And I think that's stand up, because there's guys, not necessarily this team, but there are guys when they have a tough night, they're hightailing it out of the locker room. Cortez did that earlier this year at Yankee Stadium when he was a Brewer. So I'll say that for Braun. And I feel like when Braun, after he got caught with the PEDs, well, he had to come back and he had to put in some community service with Mark Attanasio, right? There was the turkey give out that he had to show up for, stuff that normally a superstar, a guy of Ryan Braun's caliber, not showing up for, right? I mean, the guys who are doing those sort of things are the role players on the team. Rarely do you see a superstar go out there and giving out turkeys on a cold November day, but he was doing that. He was doing stuff. I think Mark Attanasio made him pay a little bit of a tax. Okay. Because Attanasio gave him a big contract. And I think that Attanasio felt let down by Braun with those during that PED scandal, because Braun swore up and down he was innocent, but he wasn't. And Brewer fans which, they didn't take the attitude. A lot of them, hey, this is our guy. We're going to defend him. They knew something was wrong. They did not like it, and they were upset about it. Now, I'm not going to hold that against him at all. I'm not one of these guys who says, well, because of the PED, you are not allowed in the Hall of Fame. No. I mean, just like Pete Rose. Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. The users of the PEDs, we'll say, those guys still should be in. That's baseball's fault for not catching these guys early, right? And they did testing, and Braun got caught. But those guys who they're not letting in the Hall of Fame, they need to get in, because that's baseball's fault. These guys, there was nothing illegal when some of those guys were taking PEDs. Now in Braun, yes. I mean, as far as breaking baseball rules. So I feel like I'm not one of these guys, if I'm voting, oh God, he took PEDs, I'm not going to let him in. No, I don't feel that way. So I'm taking the PEDs out of it completely, but he's not a Hall of Famer in my opinion. But the voters, that's the way they're going to be. They're going to look and they're going to say 2013, 65 game suspension. Nope, dunzo. He's not going to get a vote. He's not going to get my vote. Just the way it is. And there are certain guys who've had known drug issues that it took a while for those guys to get in the Hall of Fame. I'm not going to bring those guys up right now. All right. But there are players in Major League Baseball who had issues who eventually got in. But you know what? I'm not going to blame a guy if he has issues or whatever. PEDs. Yeah, I didn't like that Braun lied about it, and he claimed himself innocent, and on a press conference in spring training, I'm good to go. So, but I'm telling you, the writers who vote on this stuff, the Baseball Writers Association, some of those old school guys, yep, they're going to hold it against them. But as far as him and what he did do, yeah, he was on his way to Cooperstown. Quite the opposite of Yount. Yount, his first couple of years, you wouldn't have said Cooperstown, but he was the centerpiece of the Milwaukee Brewers. And from 1978 on, his numbers started to climb. He hit the weights, and he was an MVP. Paul Molitor, he was an MVP, a two-time MVP. Paul Molitor never was an MVP, but one of the best hitters ever in baseball. I don't look at Braun in the entire career being on level of those two. Certainly in the first 5 or 6 years, Braun was better than those two, even Molitor. And I can say the same thing about Christian Yelich. Christian Yelich, in the first several years here, from 2018, 2019, right? He was on his way, I thought, to being the best Brewer ever. And those numbers dipped off. And that conversation's for a different day. But right now, Yelich would not go in the Hall of Fame. I think we're all in agreement on that. You might like Christian Yelich, but he's not going to the Hall of Fame. And Ryan Braun, I know some people out there who are listening and watching this are going to say, Chuck, he belongs in the Hall of Fame. I believe I've watched a lot of his career and covered it. Half of his career was a Hall of Fame career. The other half, nope. He was the Hall of Very Good, is like we like to say, but he was not greatness. Hall of Very Good. I'm going to get into some of these other names on the list. Some of these names on the list, I mean, I was like, please. We'll get to that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Game time. Tell you what, game time. Not for just buying tickets for sporting events, concert tickets. How about concert tickets down in Chicago a couple of weeks ago? Amazing deals. I'm telling you what, NFL tickets, you're going to find some great deals on there. Bucks tickets, go to Game Time. They're on there. I use Game Time. The app gives me the advantage all the time. 100% authentic tickets delivered on time, the best price. All the fees are included. So you're not going to worry about at the end of the day, when you get to the checkout line, that price is beefed up a little bit. Not going to happen. So you're going to love their zone deals as well. You pick a section, Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. But you got to download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, promo code LOCKEDONMLB, $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Download the Game Time app today. Concerts, comedy shows, sporting events, you name it. It's all there with Game Time. And take advantage of the $20 offer. $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. But you got to download the Game Time app today. All right, down the stretch we come. You're on Locked On Brewers. The ballot came out. I want Brian Braun on the ballot. Okay. I wasn't surprised he was on the ballot. Matt Kemp. Howie Kendrick. Edward Encarnacion. Please. Daniel Murphy? This one really got me. Rick Porcello. I had to check to see if Rick Porcello even won 100 games in his career. He won 150. Rick Porcello. What, did he play at the Red Sox? Is that why he's on the ballot? Please. Kemp, Kendrick, Encarnacion, Murphy, Daniel Murphy, and Rick Porcello. That's a weak list. That's not exactly Molitor, Yount, Simmons, Fingers, Dave Parker, Henry Aaron, and Don Sutton. Right? That's a weak class right there. That is a weak class. I'll tell you, Braun is better than all those guys. I'll take Braun over all of those guys. But my stand is getting the Hall of Fame. Again, I'm not letting a guy go into the Hall of Fame with a mediocre career. And there's guys in the Hall of Fame. A couple of those guys snuck in. A couple of those guys have passed away. I'm not gonna run them down right now. But there's guys in that Hall of Fame that don't belong there. And Ryan Braun, I mean, if he gets in, will I be upset? No, I won't be upset. Of course, I want to see a Milwaukee Brewer get in. But I will say, I don't believe he belongs in the Hall of Fame. 2 parts of his career. First part, great. The PED. Everything after that, very good. And that's the way we end it. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day, dropping podcasts, talking Brewers baseball with you here in the offseason. Any news breaks, of course, we'll have it for you right here with our short videos. Please subscribe to our YouTube page, because when you subscribe, I drop videos after games or after when a news story hits, a big news story. We talk about it right here on a short little video. So please subscribe. It's all content is free. Just go to the YouTube page, our YouTube page, and we're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for me. Talk to you tomorrow, everybody. You've been watching Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day.